Storm DJs Podcast.
Welcome one and all to the 29th episode of the Storm DJ Podcast, the DJ interviews. Today we have a truly exceptional guest with a unique blend of passions and talents. He's not only a skilled DJ but also a champion for diversity, especially in the world of sports. Get ready for an engaging conversation with the one and only DJ Alex Simmons. In this interview, we'll delve into Alex's remarkable experiences from performing at Wembley Stadium to his famous boots and even what it's like to DJ at a funeral.
Alex, how are you doing? So we'll dive straight into the question. So can you tell us about how you started in the DJ world?
I think it's a blessing. Any young person gets to be a DJ. I was 16 and a bit of an MC, a bit of a boyo, played sports, and I fancied myself as a bit of a ladies' man at the time. And I was working with an online magazine and doing reviews. It's like the first teenage magazine, digital magazine in the country called Dubbit. Wow. And I went along to an under-18s night and got talking to the promoter, a guy called John Fisher. Uncle John, I call him now, Fish, and he was a millionaire from kids' nights, and it blew my mind. This guy's driving a Ferrari for throwing teenage parties, so it captured my imagination straight away. I started to MC for him at nights, and then one day in Stoke, in Valentino's, 2,000 kids, no DJ turned up, and he said, "You're gonna have to DJ. Here's the CDs, here's the vinyls, play them in this order." Obviously, I had no idea how to mix, but I stood there with the mic, pressing play, bit of banter, pressing play, and he just turned around and said, "You ever thought about being a DJ?" And I thought, "Well, no, but I really enjoyed it." And then a few weeks later, I bought some decks, I bought some vinyl, and I was just totally addicted. So by the time I was 17, I was professionally DJing out in nightclubs. I was too young to be in nightclubs, but I was out DJing. It's a bit different. I've been going out into clubs since I was 14. So massive lover of house music. I fell in love with house at 16 years old, and it changed my life. Manual too, like late 30s. That's the kind of coming of age. Yeah. For anyone into house music, they'll know that Boy George mix, Pulse Lover That You Are. It changed my world at the time.
Excellent. That's quite a intro into it all, really. It's very impressive. Along the way in your sort of DJ career, can you think of the most sort of crazy?
There's been so many. I was a resident at V Festival for 10 years, and I played everywhere from the VIP to the artist area. Met some amazing people. I remember sitting on a bench drinking pina coladas with Maxi Jazz. Maxi Jazz was twice, once at a boxing show, and we were both stood in the toilets having a wee. And he looked down at my feet. I hope he was looking at my feet, and he said, "Nice shoes, man." I had these pink shoes. 7 years later, I was sat on a bench, and he looked at me, and we were both drinking a pina colada out of pineapple. I'd been DJing in the artist area. There's all these famous people around. And he said, "Where'd your shoes?" I couldn't believe he'd remembered me from all those years before. And he was just such a good human, really down to earth. And I think it really inspired me, meeting people like Suggs, like Maxi and people like that, because you realise that no matter how famous people get, the good people, we've all been a part of a journey. And I think a lot of it is talent, a lot of it is luck. And I've been blessed to meet some super talented people who are mega famous, some super talented people who are not famous at all. But you treat people the right way. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my career so far. And certainly in terms of unconventional, I'll tell you one unconventional gig. So I've got a 17-year-old son. I had him when I was quite young. And me and his mum were best friends. We stayed best friends even after we split up. And her best mate is a gay guy called Paul. Lovely guy. And sadly, his dad died. And she went, "Listen, we really want you to play the funeral." And I was like,
"Oh, wow.
What? DJing at a funeral?" But I'd kind of found out in 2012 when my friend got married that I'm actually probably the world's greatest wedding DJ. Although I'm very well known for house music and obviously sports pres, stadium DJing, being done Wembley, Old Trafford, Tottenham Hotspur, St James's Park regularly, and obviously all the big rugby finals. And got asked to do this funeral. All right, no worries. And because it was her, I did it. I didn't charge him. I just did it for free because it's for the funeral. So I rocked up there. I'd set my own speakers and stuff. So I'm clunking all these speakers in, and like there's this party crew of like family who were just all into like house music and dance music. And there's all these relatives sat around the side going, what is this? And the first track I played was, it was Last Night Hopeless Remix. The remix, it's big dance tune. They're all singing along. It's a Leeds tune. Everybody in Leeds knows it. The second tune I played is Damien Fernandez, Dying. And the line in the song is, hit me like a ray of sun, because the feeling can't wash away. Dying only hurts the first time. And I realised halfway through playing it, why am I playing this track? And everyone, all these party crew are loving it, dancing around. And I can see everyone around the edge of the funeral going, is this guy just taking the piss? Like playing that track at a funeral. Yeah, it wasn't my finest moment, but yeah, unconventional gig.
But you had a bit of a positive audience reaction.
They were loving it, half and half.
Excellent. It's probably quite a tough one. If you could give me 3 words on how your fans could describe you and your music, what would you come up with?
I think passionate. It's raw. Like we were the biggest night in the North Habit in 2010s. It was a phenomenal night. Myself and Danny Bond, we travelled all over the UK and all over Europe with the night. And we were the first people to bring electro to the UK. So it was a real moment in time. And it's nice because even now people stop me in sports stadiums and go, I was there at Habit when I met my wife, or we had this tune, or your track Katie is our song. My wife's called Katie. And I'm like, oh, and it's really nice. And you don't really realize how much music transcends your circle and how people all over the world are touched by your music. And in the far reaches, when I look at my plays on SoundCloud or Spotify, and you're looking at people playing it in like Argentina and all these places, and it's mental. And it's just, I love that. I really love that about music. And I don't think there's anything else that can do that. And I think they'd say passionate. I think they'd say raw. I think they'd say high energy, groovy, but maybe a little bit dirty, and certainly vocal, because I've always been a big believer in Simon Oates from Gatecrasher once told me, he says, critically acclaimed doesn't pay the gas bill. So I've always been, and when Fish taught me to DJ back in 1998, or 97, 98, 99, whatever it was, he told me, he said, that was the old school rule of DJing, and it keeps you fresh, it gives you enough to feel like you're pushing forward, but it also, you play into the crowd. Never, ever, ever think you're too cool not to play to the crowd, because if someone asks you for a request, you might not have that track, or you might not play that in your style, but respect it, because that's somebody there. They've come to that gig to see you, come to that stadium to be entertained. They haven't come for you to say no. You've got to be polite. You've got to respect them, and you've got to try and entertain those people. And I remix a lot of tunes. I've remixed this year. I've remixed Benny King. I love soul music, so I've remixed Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell. I've remixed ABBA recently. I've got a track that is just being signed to a label, and it's not coming out till next May. And it's an ABBA re-sing, and it's like it's a wicked version of an ABBA track. And it's
why do you have to wait so long for it to come out?
Because they think it could be the big gay anthem of 2024. Release it around April, put it in a box, forget about it, and come back to it in like February next year, and we'll get it out. And that's how music is, and it's going to do really well, and it does nothing. And then some tracks blow up, and it's like, why? You've got no idea. A lot of it now, obviously, with TikTok and social media, it has changed the game. It's fascinating. That was an amazing journey. I started doing live streams. I was one of the first DJs to do live streams because I had all the radio equipment from the radio station that I owned. People started to reconnect, and I fell back in love with music. And then I got back in my studio, started making music again. I made an album in lockdown. And it was just the most magical time. And it's really reinvigorated my love for music. And I've joined that love now with sport and music, with the big sports pres work that I do. Really, I'm really blessed to have that connection to sport and to music, and obviously being a host and a presenter. So it's a really nice balance for me, and get to work with people like yourself, Adam, and great companies all over the world.
Excellent. What would you say your top 3 sort of DJ heroes are, like, throughout your DJ career?
Really good one, that. A guy called Mark Leaf, who is, I'm going to pick 2 house guys you won't have heard of, because the Leeds, I'm a Leeds guy. I grew up on the Leeds scene. Leeds house music scene is one of the greatest scenes in the world. So many amazing DJs have come from the city, have played in the city. It's a real hub of house music. And two DJs, Jim Broski, who's sadly no longer with us. I remember watching those guys and just being in awe of the quality, the mixing, the tune selection. And it was really that journey around events like Stinkies, Kiss the Funk, Speed Queen, and just a really special time to be alive. And I'm so blessed to say that I grew up in that vinyl era. We hunted for our sound, we cultivated and curated our sets, and it was before social media, so people had an attention span. So a 7-minute record wasn't too long. You went into the groove, and that we miss that now, and it's sad, but I'm just glad I lived through it. So those guys, a guy called Dan Hills, who's a really close friend of mine, but I've never met a technically better DJ than Dan Hills. And then two famous ones, I'd say too many DJs for their just ability to cut and to remix and to rework records. And then Daft Punk, I remember watching Daft Punk and just being blown away. One other guy as well, I'd say Daft Punk. I've seen so many good DJs over the years, but yeah, Daft Punk, that were a real moment in time. I remember watching Scream drop LaRue in for the Killer remix before Prodigy come on. I was DJing in the VIP and I walked down the hill and he played. I'd never heard dubstep before. And I was like, what is this? And like, I know one thing you're going to ask me, the track I wish I'd have produced, it'd be that in for the Kill LaRue remix, because I'd never heard anything like it. It actually blew my mind hearing a sound that I'd never heard, and the depth of the bass and how it moved me. And it had a real groove, and it reminded me of dub from Jamaica, from that 70s rude boy movement. And it was like revitalized, reborn, reimagined. It was so special and such an amazing moment before Prodigy. Wow.
Yeah, no, I can imagine back in the day. I mean, amazing. You mainly focus around house at the moment, don't you, in terms of the stuff you play / produce as well? Do you ever sort of veer off into other genres?
Production-wise, no. But playing, definitely, yeah. I'll have Sunday soul sessions here. I'll just like break out the old, like, I'm playing this weekend. I can't wait to be down in London with you guys. And if someone comes up and asks me for a track, I'll get it in there. I'll re-edit it. I'll on the fly. I'll make it work. You can never beat a sing-along. I think you've got to be really mindful of that in that kind of atmosphere. You know, you don't always have to play Sweet Caroline. I played Wembley recently, 3 weeks ago. It was a real moment in my DJ career, on the halfway line, in the DJ booth with my name on it, 60,000 people, and I didn't play Sweet Caroline because it's just been done to death. I played my remix of Stand By Me, and someone commented, I had loads and loads of messages, but someone just said, like, so nice to hear something a little bit different, but also accessible. So I think it's important that you have your own stamp. Everyone can play Free From Desire. You've got to try and at least have your own style and your own set of tunes. And I think it helps when you produce music and you can re-edit stuff. But it's I'm really passionate, and I think it's important that you try and stamp your own style wherever you play.
Excellent. If you could pick out your sort of go-to DJ equipment at the moment, what would it be? It was the 1210s, but things have probably moved on a bit.
So you've got to look at the new controllers. Like the new Pioneer controllers are just ridiculous. I've got one here just in a case. I think that's been a big game changer for me. And Serato, I was one of the first DJs on Serato. What are you doing? Why have you got your computer out? And it's like, then he's seen me like playing. Now he's producing all his tracks in Ableton. So it's like, I always remind him of that, the software and the ease of use. And now you're looking at some of the looping technology where you can just drag and drop and make tracks. It's allowing people to be super, super creative now. I think anyone can make a track, and I actually really like that. It does impact on those old school producers who are amazing producers, much, much better than me. But I think it's really nice that people all over the world can just like jump on, and within a few days you can make tracks. You can watch a YouTube tutorial and make a track now. It's that simple.
And do you think that sort of change has impacted how much the market's saturated? If you go shopping on Beatport now, but there's so much stuff, it's like navigating, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Do you find that sort of impacted that, just the ease of use for people to make tracks now?
It's a problem for me. It's because there's a lack of quality, and I think that you can't simply get through the tracks, and it's a full-time job. And I think it's certainly a young man's get. In terms of what I do, is my niche and USP is I can play anything to any audience, and I can stand on stage with a microphone, which is a dying art, so I can entertain a crowd. And I've got a very, very good knowledge, following, fan base in sport. So I've got that sport and music element and the presenter side. So that's my USP. I think in terms of becoming a DJ producer full time, that game's changed. That's a young man's game. And to be brutally honest, it's not a place where I'd want to operate full time, because their attention span's so small, 2-minute tracks, and it's all people just wanting phone moments to share. And it's just like, it's got to a place of pretty much sadness. And personally, I want to be around people who are like-minded, who share the same values, who either want a really good quality experience, whether that's through sport or music or both, and they want to have a bit of fun. There's families there, there's people who want to party, and it's just a great experience. I'm about providing an experience and quality across all levels. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, as you probably know, it's been a bit of a heat wave over here at the moment. It's very strange, but we've been enjoying it, sweating to death. But I suppose you're used to the heat now. You're over there.
It's funny because my brother's here this week, and he's used to it now. I'm totally acclimatized. So when I came home, it was raining. It was pretty cold, and I was like, oh my god, get me back to Dubai, back to the sunshine.
It'll be a good weekend for it. A good fleeting visit. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
Are you going to be on site? Are you going to be there tomorrow?
No, I'm not going to be there.
And it's weird because my passion is music, and I love to entertain. I love to be on stage. I love doing my hosting, my podcasting, my presenting, my radio. But it's really allowed me now to pick what I really want to do in terms of gigs. And I did a gig in Leeds. I headlined this courtyard party. It's a famous gig in Leeds last weekend. I was playing a lot of music that I produce for a younger audience, and I love making music for the audience, but I'm not bothered for playing to the audience, if that makes sense. I much prefer doing this kind of stuff for like grown-ups and sport people. I'm finding me again, if that makes sense, finding where I belong, where I fit in the jigsaw musically. It's a real kind of growth path I'm on at the minute, with when you leave your comfort zone of home. So I was like in Leeds. I'm well known across the whole of the north of England. So whether it's Leeds, Manchester, but even down to Birmingham, whether it's music, TV, or whatever it's sport, to leave Leeds, you kind of shed this skin of like this comfort zone where I can't go into Leeds without someone asking me about this or that. People know you in Leeds and around the north. Coming to Dubai, no one gives a shit about me. It's really nice to go, well, you can just be Alex. It's been really, really powerful. So leaving Leeds has been very interesting.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like a very different life, but a bit more liberating, perhaps. Can you share an unforgettable moment you've had on stage?
I want to tell you a couple, and it's so weird because I was searching for some tunes for this gig this weekend, and I've discovered an old folder, an old hard drive of video footage that I'd forgot I had. And it's from 2006 to 2010 when we had this event called Habit. Myself and Danny, I mentioned it earlier on in the podcast. Yeah. And on our 4th birthday, we were the first people to fly Julie McKnight over to England, an American recording artist. Yeah. She's sung 4 of the biggest house tunes of all time. And I remember walking into Space Nightclub where we held our event. And I've actually got the footage of it. She was doing a sound check, and I thought someone was playing the CD, and she was that good. And that's when I realized about levels. That's because I was a young promoter and I was a young DJ producer, and I'd never worked with someone of that quality before. And I remember hearing her, and I just stopped, because when you hear the record, it's amazing. When you hear it live, you feel it. You really feel it. And there was only me and Michael, the manager of the club, stood on an empty dance floor on a Wednesday afternoon, and I could have cried because it was so beautiful. She was just singing a cappella, and I was like, this woman, I understood levels of talent and real quality. It was a real moment for me, and it was a bit of an epiphany that there is another level to work with. And you look at artists now like Fred again, who's probably the biggest name in dance right now, and you see what he's doing. He's changing the game. He's got his own sound. And it's levels. I remember when Mark Ronson first dropped, it was levels, and I'll never be 2% of their talent because they're just special humans. And it's just a pleasure to be around someone of that quality and say that I was part of that journey with that person. So that was one gig. And then the gig was the following day. And I would probably say that is the greatest night we ever promoted. The official capacity of space is 450 people. And we had 1,600 people. I'm watching the video back, like literally last night, thinking, this is so illegal. And the best thing about it is there's no phones. It was just before that whole social media thing when it took over, and it was just, everyone's just raving and dancing. And it was so emotional and so special. And people still talk about that night in particular. So that's one. I think the other one's got to be when I got my first residency at V-Fest, and I was there for 10 years as a resident, playing in the artist area. When the festival is over at midnight, the artist area and the VIP goes on to like 2. And I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, DJing, and I made this tent my own. And I'll never forget, you're there all day and you take it in turns with other DJs. So I used to bring all the DJs and we'd have a real good weekend. And it was just a bit of a social and earning a few quid. But it was just a special gig. And I remember I used to love playing that Sunday morning set, playing soul funk disco. So people are just coming back to the festival, just working, and it's beautiful sun and everyone's like chilling, and I'm playing like a bit of Jamiroquai and just vibing. You can play what you want. That opportunity, like a Norman J style set, just playing the tunes. And it started to really rain one year. And this is like 3 PM, torrential. And everyone piled in. And I pressed break on the record and I played Travis, Why Does It Always Rain on Me? And everyone absolutely went off. And it's just little things like that. The moments, right? And you're sharing a moment where you actually connect to people through music, and you all smile. DJing at V festivals, a young guy going down there with your mates in a tent, but you used to camp behind the VIP, so we didn't have to mess about going to campsites. We were like all day in and out getting beers, and it was just a really, unless you've done it like that, you can't buy that experience. It's just a one of a kind. And the last one was 2 weeks ago, DJing at Wembley. Wembley is just like the home of sport in the UK, and to have the opportunity to play on the pitch and being a big rugby man, playing rugby and then being in broadcast in rugby for 10 years and creating relationships in the sport that have really shaped how I've gone from a party boy DJ, almost madman, and I was a bit wild, to say the least, when I was in my early 20s. And rugby and sport professionalized me. It shaped me as a human. I learned valuable lessons. I changed a lot of my processes and my outlook on life and behaviors, because I realized that this is a new phase of life. So meeting all these wonderful people on this journey through sport. And a great example of that is a guy called Rob Burrows, suffering with motor neuron disease at the minute, and Kevin Sinfield, who's done amazing work raising profile for motor neuron disease. But Rob was our very first guest I started the show in my garage. So it was like Wayne's World. It went from my garage to national TV in 7 years. And we had, of the 10 years we did the show, we were on national TV for 6 years. And it started in my garage, and he was the very first person in my garage. So that relationship with Rob, I'll never forget that he was the first person to support the show. And that's why everyone's rooting for Rob. Everyone's supporting Rob and raising awareness for motor neuron disease and raising funds. But some of the guys like Josh Charnley and Zach Hardacre, were two of the very early supporters of Rugby AM. And Sean Kenny Dowell, who was the New Zealand international, was one of the supporters on my journey. We worked together in Australia. I went over to stay with him in 2012 and worked with the Sydney Roosters and learnt a lot, which set me up for the show. And on the day at Wembley, Sean Kenny Dowell was captain in Hull KR. Zach and Josh were playing for Leigh Centurions. Neither team had won a trophy for over 40 years. It is a moment in history. Yeah. Whatever happened on that day, it wasn't one of the big teams, your Leeds, your St. Helens, your Wigans. It was Leigh versus Hull KR. It captured everyone's imagination. And it was the most amazing game, with Leigh winning a golden point drop goal. And me experiencing that moment with real, true friends I'd been on a journey with. Where were you when you won? When Leigh won the cup? Because they've only won it once in 50 years. Where were you when they won the cup? Well, I was DJing on the pitch. I was there playing the tunes on the pitch, and I had the best seat in the house watching the games. Yeah. It's I really do value and appreciate the journey that I've been on in music and in sport.
It sounds like some very vivid and amazing experiences to remember. This is sort of a bit of a crazy one, but what is your guilty pleasure song, which you don't like to reveal?
I think I mentioned on the podcast earlier that I would class myself as the world's greatest wedding DJ because I do love cheese. So whether it's like Backstreet Boys, All I Have to Give, or whether it's Proud Mary, Tina Turner, I love power ballads. So it's like when I'm in my car, I will literally listen to Spice Girls. Like, I just love all music, and I'm not afraid to play music to entertain people. And it's I think there's cheese, that this really bad songs like Barbie Girl, Aqua, like you can't dress that up as a good song, you can't dress it up as a good record. But then you're looking at tunes like Ann Lee, Two Times, great commercial record. A good record is a good record. If it's a commercial success and it's been named as cheesy, like A Little Respect, I love anything to sing along to. I'm there. There's absolutely zero guilt for me with music, because I think if everyone's honest about it, we've all got that hairbrush in hand out of the shower singing along to a power ballad. We've all got it in us. So I'm not even the coolest guys in the world. I think I've just remixed ABBA, Lay Your Love on Me, and that's probably the one that I heard it and I had to remix it because I just love that tune.
Very cool. Is there any track or selection of tracks that seem to link into rugby games, or is it just open book and you just do what you like?
Yeah, there is. You've really got to know. It's interesting, this, because I went around the country covering the amateur game as part of our show, and different sets of fans from different teams have different songs, and you get to understand. So, for instance, Hull KR, for some weird reason, they sing Erasure, A Little Respect. And a few years ago, when they was in the Championship in Division 2 in rugby, I hosted Summer Bash, which is in Blackpool. So you imagine Blackpool, like load of Northerners, common as muck, in Blackpool for a weekend, literally 12 teams, all playing in Blackpool Stadium. What could go wrong? And it's literally, people just go absolutely bananas, get steaming. It was Bradford versus Hull KR, and Hull KR's song is When the Red Robin Goes, because they're called the Robins, but then they've adopted A Little Respect, and I played it, and there were literally probably 7,000-8,000 people, which is a lot of people in Blackpool's little stadium, singing at the top of their voice. And I would have stood there with a mic, and I had all these people singing at me, and it was just great. You turn the music off and just let them sing. And then for the final, Leigh's tune is Hi Ho Silver Lining for some weird reason. So you've got to know your tunes. You've got to understand the nuances around the fan bases and the songs they adopt. For instance, when you look at The Killers, if a song's got a decent riff and a decent melody, fans will then make chants for players over those songs. Just can't get enough. People always do fan chants on that. So you've got to understand the fan chants, understand where that fits. You play the riff, people sing the fan chant, then you go into the song, and you got to play the game a bit, and just it's the research that that gives you that advantage. And in actually caring, just you've got to care and love it.
Definitely. Got a couple of minutes before I've got to whiz off. But what superpower do you wish you had?
To be able to get off anywhere, no traffic or teleportation, one or the other.
That's an easy answer there. If you could time travel to anywhere, past or future, where would you go and why?
I'm a proper geek for Egypt. Do you know, like, I watch all the conspiracy theories like that. I just can't believe people without modern technology or a different form of technology could build a megalithic structure like that. I'm not going to geek out too much, but I'd love just to go back and just see. They reckon there was like this like wipe out of all this knowledge and they could move stones with sound, and it was just a different form of technology. I'd just love to be able to go back and see what actually happened. Were it a lot of slaves pulling it, or was there something else that has been lost in the generations? And I'd love to know if Atlantis actually existed as well. I'd love to just go back to that period, or the 70s, because I think the 70s would be really fun. There's no wars, but it didn't really affect us. I think the 70s in London or in New York, yeah, sounds fun.
Good to see so many places. We've got to wrap up podcast here, and thank you for coming on. Tomorrow you're heading down to London, and it should be a fun one outdoors in the heat, or just before the match starts.
It's going to be great. England's World Cup kicking off. Asahi event is a special moment for all the fans down on Tower Bridge. Iconic setting. Jason Robinson going to be there, one of my best friends in the world. We're going to watch the first game together, fly in and out of Dubai, and thanks very much for yourself and the team bringing me over. I can't wait to play for you guys, and hopefully.
Definitely. Excellent. Well, Alex, thank you for your time again, and we shall catch up soon. And
thank you.
Storm DJs Podcast.